Hi, gang. Here is your Tuesday poll question at Smerconish.com on this 12th of August. Should President Trump reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug? Mine is a yes vote. I'll explain why in just a moment. But this is really big news. This is really big news from my friends at Parks Casino because it concerns our friend Jo Ellis. She is coming to Parks Casino to deliver a comedy routine as an opening act. This is really exciting. Do you remember I discussed this recently? The Kill Tony show, Tony Hinchcliffe. Yes, that Tony Hinchcliffe, as in the week before Madison Square Garden rally for, that Tony Hinchcliffe. Very funny guy, by the way. Very funny guy. So if you've ever watched one of the episodes of Kill Tony, you know it's set in Austin, big comedy club. Joe Rogan's got a hand in it somehow. In fact, it may be his club, but members of the audience seemingly drawn at random, although I'm not sure about that in the case of Joe, because I think Central Casting sent her to Tony Hinchcliffe. But Joe was one of those who was drawn and ended up getting, 15, 20 minutes on the Kill Tony episode. And Tony Hinchcliffe was totally taken with her. I don't think knew any of her background story. I don't think he knew that she is a former editor of the Smerconish.com daily newsletter. Oh, and also a Black Hawk helicopter pilot and a machine gunner. Oh, and also erroneously is too soft of a word, in a sickening way, blamed for that copter airline crash over Reagan National a couple of months ago. And now I think rightfully has filed a lawsuit about it. Anyway, so Joe is now trying her hand in comedy. And when the folks at Parks Casino heard this, they're like, we need to get her to Philly. So here it comes. Thursday night, August 21. Jo Ellis will be performing at Parks Casino Comedy Night. This is the night that Joe Conklin hosts. I've been to one. They're hysterical and they're cheap. It's $25 and that includes a drink. The headliner that night is Ian Lara. Ian Lara has an HBO comedy special called Romantic Comedy, now streaming on HBO Max, and recently appeared on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So come out for a night of laughs and a great deal and support Jo Ellis. Tickets are $25. They include your first drink. By the way, I just did this, so I'm going to be very specific. You go to parkscasino.com/entertainment. And you're going to be like, well, where's Joe? Where's Joe? There's a comedy tab at the top. And you click on the comedy tab, and you will then see August 21, the night with Ian Lara. Joe's name is there, and so too Joe Conklin. So there you go. Two Joes. August 21, 8 p.m., parkscasino.com/entertainment. You got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yesterday at Smerconish.com, big vote. 37,182. Love it. 37,182. What was everybody voting on, Michael? They were voting on the question of whether Ukraine should reject any peace deal that does not require Russia to return all the territory it has seized since the 2022 invasion. And 75.75% said, yes, Ukraine should reject such a deal. I hope I made it clear. I said very plainly on air yesterday, I don't mean in the first go round. When Putin slides his map across the table to Trump, of course, of course, who knows if Trump will agree, President Trump. But of course, the first response ought to be, hell no, we're not doing that. I'm talking about the final map. The final map. Should there be, is it a deal breaker? Is it a deal breaker if Ukraine is not getting everything back? And I went back to 2022. I didn't go to 2016. I wasn't thinking Crimea. 75% of our audience said yes. And to the 75%, I say, okay, then what? We keep writing the check. Ukraine keeps fighting the war. Putin keeps putting up his, societal derelicts, empties his jails to fight this war, and it goes on and on and on. Interesting to me that as I'm speaking to you early Tuesday morning, We're still missing details for what's going to happen Friday in Alaska, not the least of which is where in Alaska, and what will be the role, if any, of President Zelensky. I have a theory on this. I don't think that President Trump wants Zelensky there for this go round because of the optics. Isn't the old adage, two's company and three's a crowd? I think he wants that bravado moment, you know? Here, the handshake. I'm doing the handshake if you're watching on YouTube. It's like that down handshake with he and Putin. Here's something interesting. How about a prop bet? How about a prop bet on whether he and Putin are smiling when they walk out together for that photo op moment? What is my guess on that? My guess on that is that each takes his cue from the other. It might even be something discussed between staff in advance so that neither looks like they're out of the loop. What do I think Trump will do? I'm kind of intimating my facial language as I'm thinking about this. It's not going to be a big smile, but I think it's going to be something intended to convey sincerity. The big smiles will be behind, closed doors when there's no camera there. I think a half smile from Vlad. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I just thought of something. I know I'll be talking about this on Saturday. Maybe I should book the body language expert right now. Is that Janine Diver? Or did I go to Doyle Elementary School with Janine Diver? Anyway, it'll come to me. Today, Tuesday, the poll question: should President Trump reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug? The answer to that is yes. I felt that way for years. And I can't let this moment pass without reminding everybody that in Trump 1.0, when Kellyanne Conway had responsibility, I think, for the opioid crisis, I said to her, isn't this a moment? And I don't know if I said declassify. I probably said decriminalize. They're two different things. They're related. Isn't this a moment to decriminalize marijuana? And she looked at me like I had two heads. Like, what are you talking about? Now, there's been a change of heart in Trumpville. Why? Because they see it as an 80-20 issue. They've seen the polling, and it's like the penny, and it's like the weird NFL rule, and it's like, being on Harry's side, not Meghan's side, and the whole other, shower pressure and toilet flushing and all those other instinctual things of his. And the Democrats just don't have one. They just don't have one. So he wants to be on the right side of this 80-20 issue. And he is on the right side of it. He's on the right side of it because cannabis, marijuana, is not deserving of the same treatment as heroin or LSD. Schedule 1, by definition, means there's no medical use. There are medical uses. I referenced opioid addiction. Some people use marijuana as an alternative to opioids. Cancer patients use it to settle their stomachs. Glaucoma patients use it. I mean, there are anxiety, depression, any number of things that people are getting relief. How can I justify the beer that I had last night with dinner, where somebody else can't, get access to cannabis? What's the difference? I don't see a difference, and that's long been my view. Something else, where it's a Schedule 1, I didn't fully appreciate this. This is something new that I can contribute. I didn't fully appreciate that with the Schedule 1 classification comes a limitation on research. So there's this catch-22 where, we think, we worry, we're not sure, but we can't do the research. I mean, if we declassify it, it will at least mean there's more scientific study done of cannabis, and that's a good thing. And something else, if you say, well, there's no medical purpose in it, then what's the answer to the 30 plus states that right now allow medicinal marijuana, not recreational, but medicinal marijuana? So I thought something else was interesting, and I'll play the audio on radio today. But it seems that like one of Trump's big concerns about it, he's such a quirky guy, and this is an age thing, is the smell. He referenced the smell, and I know from being especially in New York City, you can smell it all over the place. It's true. Maybe it's never bothered me because the smell of marijuana triggers my olfactory system in a way that brings back memories of shows. Like I'm at the Tower Theater, when I smell it, and it's like, and that's a good thing. And that's a good thing. Josh Dawsey broke this news for the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago. President Trump is considering reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug, according to people familiar with the matter, after pot companies have poured millions of dollars into his political groups. At a $1 million a plate fundraiser at his New Jersey golf club earlier this month. Jesus, $1 million a plate. Trump told attendees that he was interested in change. The people who declined to be named, such a shift, which the Biden administration started pursuing but didn't enact before leaving office, would make it much easier to buy and sell pot and make the multi-billion-dollar industry more profitable. By the way, when President Biden 2 years ago was headed in this direction, the Washington Post editorialized on this subject. Biden is right. Marijuana belongs in a different category. The classification at the first level, by definition, no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. I don't think that anybody can question me when I say it meets the medical requirement, meaning there is accepted medical use. On the issue of the high potential for abuse, I recognize that there's debate. Schedule 1 includes heroin and LSD. I already told you that. HHS's suggestion 2 years ago was to move cannabis to Schedule 3, which is for medically useful drugs with middle range potential for abuse. Think ketamine, think testosterone. And then the Washington Post 2 years ago embracing what Trump is seeking to do now. There is evidence showing cannabis is effective at treating chronic pain, according to a 2017 report by the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. Millions use it for that purpose, often with a doctor's recommendation, in the 38 states where medical marijuana is legal. So there's no debate as to the efficacy for certain conditions medically. The question then becomes the second of those requirements, whether there is high potential for abuse as compared to Schedule 3, middle range potential for abuse. And there's mixed data on this. I know how we can get better data. Let's declassify it and then allow more academics to study it. Anyway, so that is the issue today at Smerconish.com. The Trump administration, coming around to the idea of declassification of marijuana. Make sure you go vote at Smerconish.com on today's poll question. I'll be very interested to see. I would expect that we're going to be in the same range as the public, if not more so. 2 years ago, in that Washington Post editorial, they cited data suggesting that nearly 70% of Americans support legalizing small amounts of marijuana for personal use, a dramatic shift from the late 1990s when fewer than a quarter held that view. If the public in a scientific survey is somewhere near 70% 2 years ago, I figure we're going to be at 80. But I don't know. Should President Trump reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug? Go to Smerconish.com, cast a ballot on that. Follow me, please, not just by listening to the podcast, but also by watching on YouTube, as many people do day in and day out. Like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and please set yourself up for notifications. Okay, everybody, have a great day. See ya.